Growing up in a cozy suburban neighborhood, I had always felt safe and secure in my family home. However, as I entered my teenage years, my parents began leaving me home alone more frequently. It was during one of these solo nights that I experienced something that shattered my sense of security. My parents had gone out for a late dinner with friends, leaving me with strict instructions to lock all the doors and windows and to call them if anything seemed amiss. I settled in for a quiet night, watching movies and enjoying the solitude. Around midnight, as I was engrossed in a suspenseful thriller, I heard a faint sound from upstairs, a creaking noise, like footsteps on the wooden floor. My heart skipped a beat, and I muted the TV to listen more closely. The footsteps continued, slow and deliberate, as if someone were moving stealthily through the upper floor of our house. Panic welled up inside me as I realized that I was alone in the house with an intruder. I grabbed my cell phone and dialed 911, whispering to the dispatcher about the situation. They assured me that officers were on their way but advised me to stay put and remain silent. As I huddled in the living room, my eyes fixed on the staircase, the footsteps grew louder, approaching the top of the stairs. My heart raced, and I could feel sweat bead on my forehead. I had never been so terrified in my life. The intruder finally appeared at the top of the stairs, but what I saw sent a chill down my spine. It was nothing, a shadowy figure that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, like a wisp of smoke. The figure descended the stairs slowly, its form becoming more solid with each step. It was then that I realized the truth. It wasn't a human intruder but something far more sinister, something that defied explanation. The creature reached the bottom of the stairs, its features becoming more distinct. It had the shape of a person, but its skin was a sickly shade of gray, and its eyes were dark voids that seemed to swallow the light. I wanted to scream, to run, but fear had paralyzed me. The creature moved closer, its gaze fixed on me, and I could feel a malevolent presence emanating from it. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature vanished, dissipating into thin air. The footsteps ceased, and all was quiet once more. The police arrived shortly after, and I recounted the harrowing experience to them. They searched the house but found no signs of forced entry or any intruder. It was as if the creature had never been there, leaving behind only a lingering sense of dread. To this day, I have no explanation for what I witnessed that night, a phantom intruder that defied the laws of reality. It has left me with an enduring fear of being home alone, a constant reminder that sometimes, the greatest threats are the ones we cannot see. Home alone for the weekend while my parents attended a family wedding, I relished the opportunity to have the house to myself. I had always enjoyed the solitude of our old Victorian home, its creaking floorboards and antique charm. Little did I know that this weekend would unravel the tranquil illusion of our home. It was a stormy Saturday evening, rain pelting against the windows, and the wind howling through the eaves. I curled up in the living room, engrossed in a novel, with the sound of the rain serving as a comforting backdrop. As the evening wore on, I noticed a faint, rhythmic sound, a soft, intermittent tapping coming from the walls. At first, I dismissed it as the house settling, a common occurrence in our aging home. But the tapping persisted, growing louder and more insistent. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate the source of the sound. I grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the dimly lit hallway, where the tapping seemed to be most pronounced. As I moved closer to the wall, the tapping became clearer, like a series of faint knocks. It was as if someone, or something, was trying to communicate with me from within the walls. I placed my ear against the wall, straining to hear any whispers or voices. And then, to my horror, I heard it, the unmistakable sound of a whisper, like a hushed conversation happening just out of reach. "Help us," a voice pleaded, its tone filled with desperation. My heart raced as I realized that the voices were coming from within the walls of our home. It was as if some unseen presence had taken up residence in the very structure of the house itself. I backed away from the wall, my mind reeling with fear and uncertainty. What could I possibly do to help? Who were these voices, and why were they trapped within the walls of our home? The whispers grew louder, more frantic, their words jumbled and unintelligible. It was as if a cacophony of voices from the past were trying to break through to the present. Determined to uncover the truth, I began to research the history of our home, hoping to find clues about its previous occupants. What I discovered sent a shiver down my spine. The house had a dark past, a history of tragedy and unexplained disappearances dating back over a century. It was said that the house was cursed, that those who had lived within its walls had met with untimely and mysterious fates. Could it be that the voices I was hearing were the restless spirits of those who had perished here? With a newfound sense of purpose, I reached out to a paranormal investigator who agreed to visit our home. Together, we conducted a séance in the very room where I had heard the voices. As we chanted incantations and called out to the spirits, the room seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. The walls seemed to vibrate with a haunting presence, and I could feel the anguish of the trapped spirits. And then, with a final, violent force, the room fell silent, and the voices ceased. The investigator explained that the spirits had been released, their tormented souls finally at peace. As I stood in the quiet of my home, I couldn't help but wonder about the countless other homes that held secrets within their walls, secrets that could only be unlocked by those who were willing to listen. It was the summer before my senior year of high school, and my parents had decided to go on a much-needed vacation, leaving me alone in the house for a week. I was thrilled at the prospect of having the place to myself, with no rules or curfews to worry about. The days were lazy and filled with the freedom of solitude. I spent my time lounging by the pool, reading, and enjoying the peace and quiet. However, as the days turned into nights, I began to notice something unsettling, an ominous presence that seemed to lurk in the shadows of the house. The first sign of trouble came on the second night. I was in the living room, watching a movie, when I heard a faint scratching sound coming from above the attic. My heart skipped a beat, and I turned down the volume to listen more closely. The scratching continued, growing louder and more insistent. It was as if something were trying to claw its way through the ceiling. Fear crept over me, and I considered calling the police, thinking that an intruder might be hiding in the attic. Summoning all my courage, I grabbed a flashlight and ventured up to the attic door. It was an old, wooden door that creaked open with a groan. As I ascended the narrow staircase into the attic, the scratching grew louder, echoing through the empty space. With the flashlight in hand, I scanned the attic, but there was nothing there, just dusty old boxes and forgotten relics from years past. I couldn't understand where the sound was coming from, as there were no signs of an intruder. I was about to leave when I noticed something, an old, ornate mirror that had been covered by a dusty sheet. It seemed out of place among the other forgotten items in the attic, and curiosity got the better of me. I approached the mirror and removed the sheet, revealing its aged frame and tarnished surface. As I stared into the glass, I saw something that sent a chill down my spine, a shadowy figure, a dark silhouette that seemed to move independently of my own reflection. Panic set in as I realized that I was not alone in the attic, that there was something else with me, a malevolent presence that defied explanation. I stumbled back, dropping the flashlight, and scrambled down the stairs, slamming the attic door shut behind me. The scratching sound ceased, and all was quiet once more. I locked the attic door and called a friend, who agreed to stay with me for the night, unable to shake the feeling of dread that had settled over me. The following day, I reached out to a paranormal expert who agreed to investigate the attic. Together, we conducted a seance in the attic, hoping to make contact with whatever entity resided there. As we chanted incantations and called out to the presence, the attic seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. The shadows in the room grew darker, and I could feel the presence drawing closer. And then, with a final, violent force, the attic fell silent, and the shadowy figure disappeared. The paranormal expert explained that whatever had been in the attic had been released, its malevolence vanquished. As I watched the attic door close for the final time, I couldn't help but wonder about the countless other homes that held secrets in their darkest corners, secrets that could only be uncovered by those who were willing to confront the shadows of the past.